Hello, thanks for joining me today on this wet and gloomy wintry morning. I'm Jan Clothier of Thinking Stamping and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in New Zealand. And today I thought I'd share with you how I made this card, which is my design team card for Colour Inspiration. I'm a crew member there. And this challenge, our three colours that we had to work with were Tahitian Tide, Lemon Lime Twist, and Blueberry Bushel. So it was a lovely vibrant colour combination, and I just happened to have this new set sitting on my desk. I bought Just My Type because I thought it would be fun with all its different little images and little punny sayings. Well, they're not all punny, but I just kind of liked the idea of this sort of eclectic set. It's a photopolymer stamp set so that you can line up all the different bits that fit together, but I won't hold that against it. It still is a lovely, lovely set. And I thought I'd share with you how I made this card. So we'll start off with what we need, and obviously if you live in New Zealand and you see anything that I use today and that you would like to add to your craft stash, please shop with me. There is a link to my online store in the video description below and the end card when it pops up at the end of this video. So we'll start off with what you need. Well, obviously you need the Just My Type stamp set. And in order to do this beautiful background here, you'll also need this background stamp, Rays of Light, which is another one of those little hidden gems in the catalogue, and I'll show you how we're going to use that shortly. In terms of paper, well, I did my card base in Blueberry Bushel because that was one of the colours that we had to use. So as always for me, it's a standard piece of A4 card, 21 centimetres wide, scored at 10.5 and cut at 14.8. Now if you're an imperial person, just use your standard card base and adjust your layers accordingly. It might be more difficult in this video because I've got some non-standard sizes, but generally 0.5 centimetre is roughly 1/4 inch for you. So that's Blueberry Bushel card base. I've got a piece of basic white 10 by 14.3. That's for the inside of my card, so I'm just going to pop it aside because we don't need it yet. I've got a piece of Lemon Lime Twist. As you can see, it's going to be in the background. Now this is cut slightly smaller than I normally use for a mat. This is cut at 14 by 9.3 and it's going to end up jauntily askew on that. And then I've got a piece of basic white, which is again cut smaller than I normally do. So I've cut this a bit smaller than the mat. So I've cut it at 13.6 by 9.4 and it's going to end up there like that when we've done all of our fancy bits to it. Now you're also going to need a piece of white so that we can stamp the typewriter, and a little piece of white so that we can do the pot plant. Now in addition, I've also used some embellishments and some ribbon, but I'll talk about those as we go along the way. So I think we'll start off with the typewriter. I've done the typewriter in Blueberry Bushel, so we'll see how well I can stamp on display. Nice thing about a photopolymer stamp is that you can see when you've got a good coverage of ink. But because it's a very solid stamp, I'm going to push evenly and firmly, and I'm going to count to 10 so the ink's got time to transfer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. Beautiful. Now I'm going to add in a typewriter page, and if you have a good look at the set, you can see there's two different pages I can use. I can just use a regular rectangular page, or I can have a little curly turn on my page. I've just gone for the straight look, so we'll ink them up and I'll try and stamp it without getting my head in the shot, so that could be interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now I've got a typewriter and I've got a page, all in Blueberry Bushel. Now I'm going to take the Lemon Lime Twist and I'm going to use this little flower. Don't you love that little paper clip? Oh, okay, little flower. Don't get distracted. Stick your mind on the job. So Lemon Lime Twist. I'm going to stamp it off because I want it to be there, but I don't want it to compete with the sentiment when I stamp it on. So I'm just going to put some flowers stamped off on my paper, and then Tahitian Tide I'm going to stick with the thank you, but equally for you fits, or I could have done a little high, or if I was feeling romantic, I suppose I could have done a little love heart. So where are we? Thank you, and Tahitian Tide, and we'll just pop it in there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Voila, our beautiful little typewriter. Now, you are going to have to fussy cut that, and just by magic, I happen to have one already done. Now, on the little piece of paper, you do the same thing with the pot plant. Little stamp the pot in blueberry bushel, stamp the foliage in lemon lime twist, fussy cut, and there you have them. Beautiful. We'll pop them up there, ready to use for later. Now, this beautiful background and the ray of light background stamp. Okay, I've already blocked it up here onto the largest of the acrylic blocks. If you've got a Stamparatus, you can use Stamparatus for that, and I do have a Stamparatus, but because I'm dealing with a smaller piece of paper and I want to be quite specific about, because I'm not using the sun bit, I want to hide that bit, so I'm quite specific about where I want it to be, where I want my paper to be, so I'm going to do it this way. So I'm inking up, because it's a big stamp, always easier to do it this way than to have the stamp patting the other way. Okay. Now it is also a distressed looking stamp, so don't be alarmed when you stamp it if there are holes. You know, you can see that it is a distressed look going on. So I'm going to get my piece of paper and I'm just going to drop it in where I want it. And then I'm just going to cover it with a cloth and I'm just going to press. Now you want to be careful because you don't want, when you move the cloth, because you definitely don't want the paper to move. But just nice pressing, trying to make sure I get around the edges. And then let us, there we go. Just what we were looking for. Okay, now a little muddy around the edges, doesn't bother me because it's all part of that whole distressed look. If it was something, if that little tiny bit there, bothered you, either trim it just a little bit smaller or turn it over and do the other side. After all, at the end of the day, it's only a piece of paper, so you can always have a second run at it. Okay, so now we shall do a little spot of assembly. So we'll get the glue and we will just put a little thread of glue around the edge and place our little mat on there in a jaunty angle. Now I'm aiming to try and get a similar amount each side and top and bottom. And the fact that I've used glue will just let me use a bit of wiggle room to get that going. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my blue rays. But in this instance, I want it to be straight. So I'm going to line that up with my grid paper. And then I'm going to just play around with getting that as even as I can. And I'm just going to press around the edge with my bone folder just to get a neat edge and to just help press down. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. We have got our things that we're going to attach, but before we do that, we have got to attach our ribbons. Now, I'm just going to put a little bit of Stampin' Seal under here because I just want something to attach the ribbons to. So I've got a couple of pieces of ribbon. They are, as I said, I'm using this woven metallic ribbon because Tahitian Tide is one of last year's in colours. It came with this beautiful metallic ribbon and that ribbon is carried over into this catalogue. So I've got a couple of pieces that are, oops, I obviously didn't cut them evenly. They're about 12 or 13 centimetres long, and I'm going to pop them onto that bit of tape. Oops, I must have glue on my fingers because they're attaching to my fingers. Okay, doesn't matter if you cut them too long, because before you actually assemble your card, you can always give them a little bit of a haircut. So I've got them there, and I'm going to take my pick tool, and I'm just going to shred them. Just going to shred them out. Oops. Oops. There we go. And you see the other thing is it does do that beautiful sort of pulling. So you can pull it out and get it looking really good. But only the ends are going to show. So you don't have to get too carried away with making sure that you're shredding the whole thing. It's only the ends. Okay, so we'll just get them looking good and raggedy. Okay, I think we can work with that. Now, dimensionals for the typewriter. And you know me and dimensionals, I'm always going to use plenty. So feel free to look away if this looks a bit profligate to you. I just don't like things sagging. So I'm always going to give myself plenty of dimensionals. Okay. So now we can grab the tweezers, and where are we going to put it? Well, I think we shall just pop it there. And with the flower pot, he's also going to be dimensionaled up. So we have a nice dimensional there. But quite a lot of it is going to be over the typewriter. So I'm just going to flick off that. Oops, just get the mess off to the side, because believe it or not, I do actually like to keep my workspace reasonably tidy. Okay, so, and then we'll have some glue. Okay, and then we shall pop in our plant, and I'll just make sure he presses so that he does glue onto the typewriter. And lucky last thing, do I need to trim that, do you think? Maybe we will just give it a little bit of a trim. There. Oops. There we go, and I think it looks quite nice and dragging out at the bottom like that. So again, we'll just get rid of the mess. Now, the very last thing we're going to do is add some embellishments. I've got these decorative mats, 2022 to 24 in colour decorative matte dots, and I do have some Tahitian tied ones left. There are some beautiful blueberry bushel embellishments in the new catalogue, and I haven't bought them yet, but they're on my next order list, and they'd be perfect for this, absolutely perfect for this project. But these ones will be fine as well, so we'll pop one there. And I don't know, perhaps one over here, and maybe a smaller one. Whoops. It's chasing my take your pick tool around. Come here. And perhaps just there. And there we have it, our Just My Type and Rays of Light typewriter thank you card. I will show you what I did on the inside of this one. I just used the pot and the foliage, but obviously you could do whatever you like. There's certainly lots of things to choose from in the set that you could play around with. And in fact, on the sort of versatility of this set, I was actually quite surprised. One afternoon last week, I just thought I'd spend a bit of time with this set, and obviously I came up with that card. But this card is also made with this set. I simply took those flowers, coloured them in, and then just picked out one of the colours, which is Moody Mauve, and then just built outwards from that, you know, which is something you could do with any colourway. You could have it, you know, in brights, you could have it in subtles. It's, you know, quite lovely. And then I was taken with that little rainbow, so I actually played around with the rainbows, and I just used red, orange and yellow for that. And it's a very simple, straightforward card, but it was a lot of fun to do, and I think, again, you could use that with any kind of colourway, and it would turn out really well. So I think I'm going to be using this set a whole lot more than I thought when I purchased it. Now, please remember that if you would like to buy this set or any of the colours or anything that I've used today, please shop with me if you live in New Zealand. There's a link to my online store in the video underneath this video and through the end cards. As always, I'm happy to answer questions, and you can reach me through my Jan Clothier Independent Stampin' Up Demonstrator Facebook page, through my blog Thinking Stamping, or you can leave a comment below. If you enjoyed what you saw today and you haven't subscribed already, please do. And above all else, everyone, happy stamping.